started. Hello. How's things? How's life? How's the universe? How has your week been? What's everybody been up to? Hello, Essentialist. Good to see you on time for once. It's a miracle. How's things? How's your week been? What, being on time, or me making sounds, or what? Good, what about you? I mean, technically, uh, no, not great, not great. I've I have met bureaucratic hell, and I am very uncomfortable. Hello, John. How you doing, man? How's things? Good to have you. And hello, Jim. How you doing? How is things? I am still indeed kicking. Bureaucratic hell, you mean all of the EU? No, actually, the NHS. The treatment that I have yet to publicly disclose is made of two parts. One is a gel and one is injections. The injections are not a controlled substance. It's not a particularly dangerous substance. There's not many side effects. It's not really a big deal. However, for me to start having the injections, according to my GP, I have to have already started the injections before they will prescribe me them. The GP is happy to stab me in the arm with this drug. The GP is not happy to be the first one to have done it. Ridiculous. So I need to pay anywhere between 350 and 700 pounds for the first injection to be able to get the next injection. I wish that was the case, but I would need to get my consultant endocrinologist to lie for me, which is, yeah. Well, they won't prescribe it without the consultant endocrinologist telling them to prescribe it, which I have a letter saying, hey, prescribe this. But yeah, they're idiots. And bureaucracy is pain and suffering. So yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, so the drug itself costs £207. Like my local Boots pharmacy charges a bit extra, plus essentially a fee to stick it in a needle and shove it in my arm. Fun times. But yeah, so great. Uh, Whereas the endocrinologist is asking for £700 for the same injection, the same thing that costs like £200 to actually buy. Yeah. I'm gonna have the most expensive week of my life soon. Already spent over £1,000 in reservations. Hello, Simon. Goodbye, Simon. Have fun. Enjoy. What reservations? um, Ish. I'd love to, but I don't think so. Airbnb reservations. That doesn't really clarify things. Like, are you going on holiday? Uh, oh, dungeons. Right, got it. Yeah, fair enough. Those can be expensive. I don't know. um, yeah. Also, I think I said this, but hi John. I am unfortunately still kicking. Uh, there's one in my local area. It's just there's only like I don't know 5 or 6 in the country, and one of them's about a 10-minute drive from me. And even better, I've been there for a market. Hello, Australian Simon. Seeing as English Simon has sodded off to the pub, I'll just stick with Simon. How you doing? How's things? um, I'm also in the midst of designing another tool because, of course, I am. Isn't Airbnb basically a bad hotel with added cameras and less catering? um, yes, asterisk. So I don't really like Airbnb for a bunch of reasons. I've never like I've stayed in a bunch of Airbnbs, but I've never like organized it myself, right? Um, but uh, it's good for a specific set of things, like circumstances, right? Like if you were just gonna like rent one room in a hotel, the chance that you'll find an Airbnb where you can like essentially pay significantly less to the point where like finding the Airbnb, finding where the parking is, finding all dealing with any cleaning fees, yeah, all what you call it? Come on, is pretty unusual, right? Like for if you were only going to rent one hotel room anyway, you may as well just stay in a hotel. But if you at least from the ones that I've looked at, stayed in, etc., if you are going to stay like you you would need a bunch of hotel rooms. Like if you're going to a stag do or something, that's where uh, Airbnbs might be significantly better, at least in terms of like price and amenities, because you can often get a pretty decent location and you get an entire 4, 5, 6, 7 bedroom house to yourself basically. So if you got what was it like 20 guys in a single house. That was one reservation for way less than like 20 rooms in a nearby hotel, you know? Um, so I think there there is still some sort of use cases for it, at least here in the UK anyway. But yeah, what you call it? A hotel on Airbnb was literally about the same price. Sure, but you are undoubtedly getting more for your money in a hotel, aren't you? I don't know. I think it was 14 guys actually. But I think it was 14 of us. And yeah, there was no damage. Really? Well, fair enough. I guess it's different um over there. But yeah, here in the UK anyway. Hi Richard. I stayed in a Premier Inn once. It was like being in a prison cell. Don't try Travel Lodge then, because Premier Inn is a step above Travel Lodge. Not much, but it is. Um, oh dear. 10 guys in the house. They're gonna get pissed and ruin the place. Amazingly, we didn't. Oh dear. It's 5 a.m. Also, have an offer on the business already. Well, I'm sorry about time zones, but congrats. Is it an offer you're planning on accepting? Uh-huh. Oh, okay, it was a travel lodge. That makes sense. Everything is like cardboard, including and especially the bed and bedding. A travel lodge is like one step above being homeless for the night. Like, only just. Oh dear. I mean, when I was in Portugal, um, in Cascais. I couldn't quite work out how the locals were saying it, but it's spelt Cascais. Um, anyway, it's just west of Lisbon. We stayed in a very very nice hotel, to the point where my hotel room had more space, like square footage, than my house does upstairs. Like it had an entry hallway with a table and a big mirror. The bathroom was massive, like it had an actual bath in it. It was all marble. It was ridiculous. And a shower, like standing shower, like a big standing shower. Double basin, a toilet, and a bidet. The bedroom was also a living room, so there was like a massive sofa. There was a little balcony. And then there was a walk-in wardrobe with cupboards on either side and plenty of room in between. Like it was ridiculous. So yeah. Hello, Chris. I've had good hostel experiences in a few places. Fair. I haven't stayed in a hostel, but yeah. Currently doing some DIY car ramp building, so I'll be listening along, but probably won't comment much. Nice. I also have some DIY car ramps. Yeah. Just enough to get my far annoyingly tall jack under. Um, it's just a couple of bits of wood, really. 3 bits of wood per. No, 4 bits of wood actually. Um, will accept, but he has to get accounts set up before sale goes ahead. As we're a still dealer that makes up most of the business and still have to approve him. Oh, nice. I'd rather sleep on the floor of a friend's house than ever use Travelodge again. I don't blame you. uh, in other news, I'm building a new tool, and I swapped from my gear-driven stepper motor idea that I was showing off last week with the whole like stendo boop to a more sensible. I'm gonna get a smaller one. This is a like 50 mil travel one, linear actuator. So this like you apply power and this extends. In fact, you probably can't see it, but I have my digital power supply here. Oh, you can see the lights. There you go. It's 9.745-ish volts. There we go. Da, 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 da. There you go. See, it go burr. All from a motor in here. It's going whoop, and then it stops when it's fully extended, which is there. Um, so the fun thing about this little erection is that if you pulse this for 2 milliseconds, it will pulse just under 0.1 of a millimeter. And that's great for me because what I want to use this for is essentially testing what you call it, like mechanical keyboard switches and mouse, where this will extend down and push on the come on brain, key switch, and if I know how far each pulse takes this, then I can work out what the actuation point is on the switch, and can work out how accurate those switches are. And I'm also adding a force sensor to the front of that, so that it knows when it's touching the key, and as you push down, it can map out the force required for the key switch. So you can graph that too. So yeah, should be nice. What do you think, Bolt graphics? You're gonna have to give me some more context there. I'm not sure what you mean. I've seen those types of devices before, just bigger. Well, the fact that it converts rotational movement in a little motor in there into linear movement is pretty cool. And the fact that it does it very accurately with little to no backlash is also pretty sweet. And the fact that you can pulse it at a given rate, at a given voltage, and have it move just enough for what I need anyway, is pretty handy. Yeah. Hmm. I worked out the whole put a force sensor on the front of it today actually. And I'm waiting for the company who makes the force sensor that I want to use to get back to me with a full data sheet to be able to what you call it? I wish my brain didn't go blank as much as it does, but it does, and it's really annoying. uh, a quick quack, nice. Makes it look like Bolt Array GPU designer, and Bolt Graphics is a startup making RISC-V based GPUs. Interesting. I mean, that's not something I've heard of, but the more GPU makers, the better. I'm kind of interested in how a RISC-V architecture GPU would work. I guess we've got ARM architecture GPUs, but yeah. Bolt Graphics Zeus is a new launch GPU, very controversial PCB design. It uses DDR5 laptop RAM. I mean, the big question is performance, right? Because like using DDR5 laptop RAM might just be because that's what's readily available to a small startup. As someone who is essentially a small like electronics manufacturer startup, the components that are available to you in your manufacturing ability is kind of limited. Like the I had a brief notion of maybe building an SSD because you just buy the controller from Phison and you just buy some RAM from Micron, or some NAND flash from Micron, uh, well, and the RAM if you want, and pretty much, hey presto, you have a GPU. Um, but to buy a controller from Phison, you need a manufacturing deal with Phison directly. You can't just buy some Phison controllers from Mauser, right? Same with NAND flash. Like you can buy small quantities of EPROMs and stuff, but to buy like anything 3D TLC, you need to deal with the supplier directly, basically. Um, and so it depends what's available. Um, yeah, I didn't get very far into the idea, but there you go. Um, what do you think about the AOC 24 G4 SP? G2 SP. So the G2 line is on the older side. the newest line is G4. Realistically, there isn't an insane difference between the G2 models and the G4, like because it went G2, G3, and now G4. So it's quite old. I don't know if I reviewed exactly the SP 24 G2. I know that I reviewed the 24 G2. I reviewed the SPU. So that's probably pretty similar. There's my review if you're interested. I assume that's the one that Ish just, yeah, the one that Ish just posted. I'll leave it for Ish. But yeah, assuming that the SP and the SPU are pretty similar, probably decent. Also, sorry, it's a block nose. I was limited when AliExpress exists. I would like to buy the real RAM. Lloyd, hello, running a Ryzen 5700X 3D AM4, looking at picking up a 7600X 3D and moving to AM5 with a budget theme build, or should I wait for the next generation for an upgrade, mainly used for gaming? Off the top of my head, I didn't think that there would be a massive difference between a 5700X 3D and a 7600X 3D, especially like for gaming, especially because wait, hold on. Wait. Yeah, you'd be dropping 2 cores. So personally, I would, unless you can get a 9800X 3D, or I don't know if what is there a 9600X 3D yet? Is that out yet? Rumored. 97? No. So basically, unless you can get a 9800X 3D, I don't think that upgrading your CPU really matters right now for you in terms of performance. In your case, a GPU upgrade, a graphics card upgrade, will give you a much better performance improvement than the CPU will, especially because you don't need to buy a new motherboard, a new CPU, new RAM, and possibly a new cooler, depending on how your current one is supporting. I mean, I kept the Z-Height the same and mounting hardware the same, but yeah. So yeah, I'd upgrade your GPU, buddy. I want to buy a new monitor for gaming, the AOC 24G2 SP. Do you recommend it? Look at the link from Ish. You, look here. That one. That one. But the AliExpress stuff is just as good. No, it's not. For some stuff, it's fine. For other stuff, like if you want to buy smart home stuff, ironically, buying them from AliExpress, especially when you can buy directly from the official store, like Sonoff sell stuff and Akara sell stuff directly through AliExpress if you want to. So yeah, that's fine. And it's like half the price most of the time. Like an Akara temperature sensor is like 25-30 quid, you know, from Amazon, or it's like 10 from AliExpress. Or actually, my thermostatic radiator valves, my smart TRVs, they're Sonoff ones. Those were, was it like £18 each or something? Maybe that was before tax, whatever. Those are £60 each in the UK. Like, My PS4 USB controllers all came broken and were probably fake. Yeah, so that's the thing, is that like you need to be careful. uh, for example, a decorative exhaust tip. Hey, okay. Steering linkage repair kit. Yeah, I'll order that from Deutschland. Thank you very much. Accurate. Yeah. There's an amazing car like mechanic YouTube channel, M539 Restorations. He mostly focuses on BMWs. He occasionally branches out into other cars and then immediately regrets his life, a la the Maserati. Although it's a Maserati, what was he expecting? um, but he is the most picky is the wrong word, because it's a sort of it's a distinguished taste. You know, like a wine sommelier, whatever, who has a good nose for a good wine, whatever. Like, they're not picky. They're just, they know what they like and they know what's good. I mean, the latter is arguably a lot more subjective, but screw this metaphor. He's picky in the right way for parts and where they're made, and he's even found that the exact same part number from the exact same manufacturer, but the manufacturer moved their manufacturing from Germany or Poland or somewhere nearby to China or Indonesia or Vietnam or Malaysia, whatever, and the quality is noticeably different between the two. Um, like, that's not to say that those countries are, like, stuff from those countries is inherently defective or anything. It's just when you change from the, like, you know, when Bosch moved their some manufacturing from Germany, where they've been doing it for a century, to anywhere else, the quality and the engineers who've been doing it for, you know, 50 years at that point, um, don't go with them. You know, a lot of institutional knowledge leaves when the manufacturing does. And that's often why it's so difficult to bring manufacturing back to a place that it's left. Um, not to talk politics or anything, please God no. But I mean, okay, as an example, Britain used to build a shit ton of nuclear power plants. We then stopped doing that for like, what was it, 40 years or something, and now is it Hinkley Point C? The new one that's being built by the French government, by the way, EDF. Um, they it's like ridiculously cost overrun. It's ridiculously like it's taking years longer than expected. Like, it's insane. If all of the people who were building nuclear power plants like 34 years ago were still A, alive, and B, or at least the knowledge that they had, which could have been passed down, you know, to the next wave of um, engineers and builders and whatnot, but didn't because we stopped building them. We now have to relearn all those lessons, and it's going to cost way more, it's going to take way longer, and it's going to be worse. Hello, Joe. How you doing on his things? Already running 7900 GRE, so this isn't an APU issue. Aim for aim for build was to be my last build. I'm 74 years young and an FPS gamer, thinking AM5 upgrade will be would last and be my last one. Well, fair enough. You can, if you upgrade to AM5, but you get a 9800 X3D, you are going to see a marked improvement. That will last you for a very long time, and even if you did want to upgrade in socket, AM5 is going to continue to get new CPUs for probably a decade. No, like with AMD's track record, like they're still launching new AM4 CPUs now. Now, when there's 2 generations of new CPUs on the new socket. Okay, you just let it die. Um, but um, yeah, that going from a 5700 X3D to a 7600 X3D, I don't think will be much, if any, faster. You would need to get at least a 7800 X3D to see an improvement, and you would really want a 9800 X3D to see a what I would consider a worthwhile improvement. Yeah. The reason Hinkley Point C has overrun so much is because the French design the EDF have used in several stations in France apparently wasn't good enough and needed redesigning to meet pointless British regs. I mean, I'm not surprised. However, if we'd have continued building the plants the whole time, it would have been a much more seamless thing, and we wouldn't have needed the French to do it for us. Um, Sounds like when I was at Black and Decker, they stopped doing R&D here in Australia, moved it over to China. Costs went up and quality went down. Well, yeah, pretty much. Things like 30% more concrete in places. Interesting. Um, successfully do the same mistakes repeatedly over decades. I mean, true, but uh, damn, you're grown up. Remember watching you when the 5820K was a thing. Yeah, I've been doing this for almost half my life. In uh, a bit under 2 years, I will have been making YouTube videos for exactly half my life. Um, it's been 13 years. Yeah. Fair enough, Lloyd. I mean, that does seem like a pretty good deal, so um yeah. Yeah. Uh I want to buy the 24G4XE, but I read really bad things. What do you think? I'm pretty sure I reviewed the 24G4XE and it's perfectly decent. So, I mean, feel free to let me know what bad things you've heard about it, but yeah. The hairline cracks in the Belgian EDF plants were so bad here that the Netherlands were given iodine pills. Wow. um, where was I? I'm not bad. Thank you, buddy. You. Not great. I've met the long arm of bureaucracy at the NHS that is stopping or making a particular thing very difficult. Um, so yeah, I'm looking at the iodine pills. The essentialist was given, or people in the Netherlands were given. Um, so yeah, I'm going a bit mad. I'm waiting for people to respond to me and stuff, but not great. Um, yeah, I was perfectly happy with it, and I built the response time tool that people used to test it. So, um, yeah, as far as I'm aware, perfectly decent. Interesting, Chris. Your thoughts on the Ryzen 7 9700X and MSI X870 P? 64 gigs of ADATA RAM, 850 watt power supply, fish tank case, interesting. Um, dual tera cooler, power color, Hellhound 9070 XT, and an Asus XG27 ACS, all for around 2200 bucks. I mean, I'm not very well in touch with the price of components. I haven't built a PC, like I haven't uh done build guides or even, built a friend a PC or anything like that in quite a while now. However, for a decent monitor and a pretty high-end system, Sounds pretty decent. Sounds like a well-balanced system as well. Obviously, dropping in a 9800X3D would let her rip because that CPU is ridiculous. However, yeah, sounds decent. Sounds like a good balance. Um, Fair play, Chris. See you in a minute. It's crazy because the ones I got were labeled with the Belgian plants, not Dutch ones, which are also in my immediate vicinity. Lol. Have I been up to much this week? Well, my wife was away over the weekend, so I went utterly insane. Um, but I also started designing. Well, I started designing last week, but I made some more progress in designing a new tool, and I have a more proper linear actuator. So that rod comes at the end. I've already demoed it today. I can't really be able to plug it back in. And a force sensor will go here. So as this pushes down on a mouse or on a keyboard, like a key switch, it will be able to tell you where the actuation point is, and it'll be able to tell you how hard you have to push across the travel. So for weirdo reviewers like me, you can basically automate testing keyboards and mice. It will be able to do latency as well, although it's quite slow, so I'm gonna have to work out how I want to do that. But yeah, yeah. It might be a bit of a calibration process actually, where it steps down to find how long, like what point it triggers, and then steps back, and then just triggers down, triggers up, triggers down, triggers up, right on the bite point basically. Um, Although that might not work with reset, because often the reset's high. I don't know. I'll work it out. We're very early yet. Uh, Same here. I'm building it for a friend. I've not done an AM5 build that, just thought I would ask. Yeah, I mean, uh, the X870 board, meh. I think I'd buy a B. Well, if you want out of the box compatibility, probably a B840, but also a B650 or B650E is probably about the same price. But then also that's the Dash P, I think, is a, you know, relatively budget X670 board. So does it really matter? Probably not. You might save a few quid. But I don't really see, like, besides maybe, I don't know what SSD you've got in there, but maybe a larger SSD might be um what you call it? Not BA40, BA50, yeah. You might be able to like save a few quid on a like B850 or B650 board and put that towards, I don't know, a 2 terabyte SSD instead of one or something, I don't know. I mean, I'd hope you'd already have at least 2 terabytes of storage in this thing, but you know what I mean? Like maybe you could get a second 2 terabyte or I don't know, whatever. Um, but yeah, otherwise it's fine. Thiange had over 1,000 radiological incidents over the course of 35 years. I'd be scared too. I mean, fair enough. Also, as always, if I missed anything, feel free to drop it in the chat. He's reusing a T500 drive, and I have added a placeholder, Crucial P3 Plus 2 terabyte. Nice. Yeah, fair enough. P3 Plus, I think, is DRAM-less, but it's also pretty fast, and I think it's no, the P3 Plus is not a full fat Gen 4 drive, but who cares? It's a great price, so yeah. Fine. Yeah, yeah. I think it's a 5 gigabyte per second drive instead of a 7-ish gigabyte per second drive, but who cares? Um Better to get a B850 motherboard, as some of them have the same or even better specs than lower X670 boards. Fair enough. Well, hopefully Hinkley Point C doesn't have those issues. From all the, quote, pointless British regulation. Regulation. Yeah, I mean, for all the jokes about health and safety, most health and safety things are written in blood, so... uh, yeah. Um... Oh, I'm tired. Today's been a draining day. Mostly emotionally draining, but stressful day. Running around to pharmacies and to the GP and trying to get replies from people, and all while writing and filming a video and working out what to do for my new tool. Ah, dear. Um, to read the point, then again, I do agree that nuclear is the only way forward. I agree we should have more nuclear power, but I don't see it as the only way forward. I think renewable, as in wind, solar, tidal, that sort of stuff, um, is a better long-term choice, both in cost, complexity, and not having nuclear waste. And I know that the French recycle nuclear waste, and then it becomes like 97% recyclable. But yeah, I nuclear should be great for taking up the base load, and then as long as we build storage capacity for the renewables when the wind isn't blowing and the sun isn't shining, yeah, hydro is to me more of a storage solution than it is a power generation solution, if that makes sense. Like, I know that, you put a dam in an otherwise flowing river, and because of the cycle it replenishes, but it is a bit more of a storage solution to me. Which, to be fair, there's a massive lake up a mountain in Wales with a hydroelectric dam on the front, and in the morning it's two reservoirs. They pump, like, throughout the day when the sun's shining, the wind's blowing, they pump water from the bottom up to the top, and then they release the water in the evenings and overnight to generate electricity again. It's something like 76% round trip efficient, which is kind of surprising considering evaporation and like pumping losses and stuff, but hey, it works. So yeah. Wind and solar have the issue of just kind of being too environmentally taxing for the amount of power we need. What do you mean? Luckily, fusion is only 10 years away. Hasn't it been that way for the last 10 years? And the 10 years before that? I'm still getting over that. Joys of being immunocompromised. Takes a while. Takes longer. Sucks more. Windmills look ass with fields and fields of them. I don't know. I kind of like it. I kind of like it. Also, the majority of UK's like wind power comes from the offshore wind turbines. Yeah. Production of solar and the amount of space we'd need to satiate our power usage in the future would be extremely damning to the environment. We're all just idiots talking about this, and I happen to be the one on camera on the internet, so... but my understanding is that, especially with the advancements in power, the power density of the panels, like my panels in the garden are 400 watt panels. Now they are also I can't remember what the actual efficiency is. It's not, I can't remember what the efficiency percentage is, but they're not capturing anywhere near as much power as the sun is imparting on those, panels, right? But those 2 meter by 1 meter panels are 400 watt panels. There's already much higher wattages available, like in just a couple years since I bought those. But like a single house can now, with those newer panels, can power itself, especially with battery storage, at least throughout the summer months anyway. In fact, it's often a surplus in the summer months. In the winter months, it can be a bit more difficult for sure. But if you think about that from if every house had solar, that's most of the solar energy covered, at least from a residential perspective. A lot of shops already have, like a lot of large shops and stuff already have what do you call it? Solar on the roofs to help offset their usage. But my understanding is that we don't need that much of the space covered by solar panels and wind farms and stuff to actually like satiate our energy needs. Yeah, John, that's also the thing I had. Essentialist, but you realize that that's for the whole world, right? Like half the size of France across the entire world. We've got that space. France is actually pretty small. Texas is pretty small when you compare to the whole world. Because it's not just a little bit of, I don't know, the Saharan desert, whatever, or France or Texas, and then you gotta run it all over. Like, it's distributed. I did a feasibility study for a dam versus solar farm on barren land. It was hard to select a site that was close enough to not be affected by heavy transmission losses. Transmission losses as in from the solar farm to the grid versus a dam to the grid? You fit France in the middle of Australia. Exactly. Not that big. Yeah, to the grid, right. I mean, is that not what we have the substations that up the voltage for? Like, because that's why the main power lines that run Come on, brain. Main power lines. They run at... How many kilovolts? Now my brain's gone blank for that. 400 kilovolts, 400,000 volts, yeah. Although they get stepped down to 11 kilowatt, whatever. Thorium salt, nuclear, seems more feasible than solar. I mean, Wendell has been going on about thorium reactors for a decade, so yeah. Yeah. France is 213,000 square miles. Like, sure, but how many square miles do we have of Earth surface, like land mass surface? Because if you divide that 176,000 square miles by even just an even amount per country, you're talking about 1,000 square miles of solar across the entirety of America, and I think they've got the room. Like, you could just fit that in Texas, and who cares? Yeah. I think there is a thorium reactor being built. I saw a headline or something, or a short about it, whatever. Finally. Yeah. No worry. 24.6 million livable square miles. Since we don't count stuff like Antarctica or Siberia. Exactly! 176,000 square miles is a rounding error. Who cares? Thought one, China had one running, another construction. Well, there you go. I'm out of the loop. Funnily enough, I don't have power plant autism. Well, I guess I kind of... No, not really. I have a mild interest in power plants, but not enough to care, and enough to find out what ones are running where. Interesting, Tammy. I mean, that's pretty cool, but I've not heard about that. Right, but how much of the world is already covered by buildings? Like, if you just put the solar on top of the buildings, onto, like, over motorways. Actually, that's already a great idea. I've already suggested that, but no one's done it yet. Like, seriously, if you just cover the motorways in a like, tunnel of solar panels, you save drivers from, like, the elements, essentially. You maintain the quality of the road better, and you, what you call it, like, I'm sure that you could use semi-transparent solar panels so that it's still light under there most of the day, kind of thing, but you might save from a lot of glare, etc. And how much of the damn country, at least in the UK, is roads and motorways? A lot of it. A lot of surface area. You can get your 1,000 square miles there. Have you ever seen how long it takes to start up an electric generator? They have to maintain 50, 60 hertz. Has to be within 0.2 of a hertz to match the grid, or could collapse the whole grid. I haven't actually seen that in particular, but I do know about the frequency problem, essentially. Uh, that's why the generators are often used to take up the base load, and then more reactive loads like hydroelectric or, in Britain's case, natural gas plants. As an example, there are, I think, like basically 8 shipping containers across the road for me that have that are it is a natural gas plant that is a peak like load balancing power station basically, um, that they run whenever the grid needs to load balance, whenever it needs to um, take over any peaks from the base load, and so that's what they use to do that. They like up until very recently, the coal power station that's not a million miles from here was taking up some of that base load, and the nuclear plants that are still operational, etc. Um, but yeah, the those sorts of steam turbine generators do take an awful long time to ramp, which is why they're not used for they're used for base load, not reactive loads. Yeah. Um, my dad retired from a government job, so not public knowledge. By uh, uh, there are energy sinks and generators, and the grid controllers tell which to operate using an insecure wireless method. Love that. Oh, using a flipper zero, of course. Dear. What do you know? We should ban the flipper zero. It's too dangerous. Even though it's just basically a Raspberry Pi with some an Arduino and some fun firmware with some stuff preloaded. That's about it. Uh, 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 yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah. Oh dear. It's kind of similar for the railway, actually. That's not very secure either. Uh, no worries, Tammy. Um, no problem. Can't blame you. Ish Watch Dogs is a Ubisoft game franchise. There's Watch Dogs 2, and Watch Dogs Legion. Basically a game about hacking stuff. Um, Open world. Yeah. Joe, afraid not. Haven't really been paying much attention. I was hoping to go to the SMMT day again this year, but I haven't been invited yet. I need to chase her up on it to see if we haven't like if it's a mistake that we've not been invited or if we're just being frozen out. But yeah. I don't know. We'll see. Watch Dogs 1 was such a bait and switch in terms of graphics quality. I seem to remember the trailer for that, and I definitely played the game, so I think I remember what you mean. It's been a while, but yeah. I did generally enjoy playing the Watch Dogs games. Generally. But then again, I am a sucker for open world games, so yeah. Uh, the problem I have with Watch Dogs is that the driver series had to die for Watch Dogs. Fair. Um, was it like Cyberpunk but with far fewer dildos? Kinda. The whole game was about hacking. Like the you were a hacker. Like the story was you were a hacker in all of them. So yeah. And a lot of it was about like controlling the environment, controlling, like making people's phones explode or whatever. I can't remember. Stuff like that. So, and there was combat and whatnot too, but it's mostly about like using your hacking skills as a tactical advantage. Fair enough. Flew my drone for the first time this week. Impressed with how well it flies. Might have been uh, pooping it the whole time though. Footage of it was stunning. Nice. Yeah. Fair. Dear. Well, I think I'm gonna go attempt to rest. Attempt being the key word, but I'll try. Um, I hope you all have a good week. I hope you all stay safe. Hope you all have fun. And yeah, see you next week. Bye.